Hey everybody, my name is Jim. You may be familiar with me from YouTube, where I do a bunch of videos about steam locomotives. Sometimes on my own, sometimes with a group of friends of mine that are known as the Cylinder Cocks. Well, welcome to my Daily Motion account, where I'll be predominantly doing Transformers videos, usually toy reviews. And we're starting off with the figure you see dangling here from my desk light. Animated Blackarachnia. In fact, I thought this was a pretty funny and slightly clever way of showing off one of her gimmicks, or one of her features. Because, well, of course, because it's Blackarachnia, she's one of those Transformers that doesn't have a vehicle mode for her alternate mode, but a beast mode. And as you can see, said beast mode is a techno-organic spider. So yeah. And one of the features that you saw is that on the back here, you have this translucent red claw that you can actually use to hang her from something like a desk light or a railing of some sort. There's also a button here on the side that will allow you to retract the claw. There we go. It's a little bit fiddly for getting it all the way rolled up, I guess. But yeah, I got this figure a few days ago in the mail, so yeah, I'm actually quite excited about reviewing her. And she's a pretty good figure. Spider mode is not great, but that's fine. Because the major nitpicks that I have is that her hands are visible here on these spider legs. I can't get this pair of legs to touch the ground, so she's only standing on 6 of her legs, as opposed to all 8 of them. And this mandible here is very loose, like it almost feels like the socket for the ball joint is way too big, so as a result the mandible can't stay on the ball joint that well, or like there's just enough plastic around there to kind of get in the way and start it to clash into things. Plus, it kind of looks like it's made of a different purple plastic compared to the other one. Like, this one is actually a bit darker in person, whereas this one is a bit brighter. It's weird. But yeah, nothing too drastic about the spider mode. Their mandibles are ball jointed, but I won't move them because I'm afraid that one will fall off. So yeah. But we do have a red hourglass here on her abdomen, which also has some spikes. I mean, I said this was techno-organic, but could probably be just completely organic or something from an alien planet or whatever. Because in the animated cartoon, of course, this version of Blackarachnia started out live as an Autobot called Alita 1, who had the ability to download various powers and gadgets from some of her teammates. And she accidentally ended up being stranded on a planet full of spiders. She tried downloading their powers, and it ended up irreversibly mutating her into a techno-organic body, and she ended up joining the Decepticons. So, yeah. She has a bit of a past. So, yeah. But, yeah. Well, seeing how the clock came off, guess we'll just quickly do a size comparison with a busted up TF Prime Bumblebee that I use as my standard alternate mode size comparison figure, as I got a different one in better shape that I use for my robot mode size comparisons right here. With that settled, let's transform her. So, transformation, it's fairly simple, though it can get a little clashy because of the spider legs. So first thing that you want to do is, of course, raise this third set of legs, which are obviously her robot mode arms. Then what you want to do, on the underside, well, if you haven't removed her claw weapon yet, you want to take the rear legs and just straighten those out into her robot legs. Then we take these, like the spider feet, I guess. Or, well, first you take these pieces here, which will form her robot mode shins and feet. Fold those forward and then rotate them 180 degrees around with the legs going inwards like this. You can only rotate one way before you close everything back up, and then you flip up the feet. So yeah, and these spikes actually act as heel spurs, which is quite helpful. Her legs are a little bent, you just have to find the best position for it. Next, what you want to do is open up the door here on her abdomen, which has this red hourglass on it. Just open that up, which will allow us to feed her head through there, her robot mode head. And then we can close that door back up, and then we can basically start swinging this whole unit forward. And while you're doing that, you want to take the spider head, which will form her chest, and basically slide that up. It's not actually on a slider, but more so on a double hinge. But it moves so stiffly that it's basically like a slider. Just get her robo mode arms out of the way while you fiddle around with the front sets of spider legs to get those around her back. Like these ones with the hinges. Like, you want to move them past, like her front set, which has these hinges here in the middle. You want to move those past the other set. And then just, I guess you can already rotate her body straight, and then just keep rotating these up. Gotta watch out for that mandible. Come on. Come on. Oh. There we go. Got a little confused as to what spider legs were in front of each other. Let me erase the camera. I apologize if I didn't get all of that in frame. But yeah, basically you want it to end up looking like this. So again, these spider legs with the hinges, you basically want those sticking up behind her back. Whereas this other set of legs will kind of be a little off to the side. So yeah. Definitely gotta do something about that loose mandible. That's actually a clever little trick, because these mandibles actually end up filling out the sides of her body. Then the last things you want to do is just adjust her arms, get those in a good pose, and officially you want to rotate these spider legs 180 degrees around so that, you know, they actually kind of collapsed or whatever. Come on. Yeah, I could potentially make the argument that that some of the joints are a bit too stiff. Like she hasn't been played with in a while. But there, folks and folkettes, after we tucked her abdomen a bit further up, there we have animated Blackarachnia. If we can get her standing up. There she is. Let me just move her back a little. Actually get... Some of those spider legs are stubborn. That's okay. So there we have Blackarachnia. Looking quite good. So yeah, here she is next with that Prime Bumblebee that's in good condition. You can see that she's definitely a bit bigger, but that's because also different toy line, TF Animated, TF Prime. And this was back in the day when Transformers toys could still be a little bigger because there was more room in the budget to make them bigger. But yeah, overall, she's a good looking figure. Sorry for the little gust of wind there. I had to blow a little hair off of her right shoulder. But yeah, very well done. Good female proportions. She does have a little bit of a chest, but, you know, like, it's noticeable. I do think that, it's better for female Transformers to have a bit of a bust, but it's not too big. So, it's a nice perfect in-between line. It's notable, it's there, but it's not, overzealous, pornographic big. You pigs. So, yeah. And her head is looking really awesome. Like, she has 4 eyes. That is looking cool. Yeah, 4 eyes, and she has light piping. That is working really well. But they're actually 2-bit pieces of translucent red plastic. I mean, obviously, the entire back half of her head is cast in it. And then there's a separate piece within the facial half of her head. That is the actual eye stalk. So, yeah, that's actually quite clever. The only problems I have with her, I guess, they're a bit minor. From some angles, you can kind of see that she has a bit of a hollow throat, because there's a gap between her neck stem with this golden Decepticon symbol, and basically where the gold collar would begin, I guess. Well, I guess this would be her collar, actually. But you get it. There's a gap here in her chest, which is a result of this bit being on a hinge. But yeah, that's a little unfortunate. But if for whatever reason you hate her, I guess it can serve as an advantage for you to brutally kill her by shoving a skinny enough sword through her. But why would you do that? She's not that bad of a character. There's some good in her. But, yeah. The other problem, well, on my copy again, that damn abdomen. Sometimes she can't stand up that well. She can't hold any proper weapons, because there are actually slots here on the insides of her forearms for this tab on her grappling claw, which acts as her suspension or web shooter thingy. But this doesn't stay pegged in her arm that well, so it's kind of a bit of a moot point. I guess if you're not careful, the claw could break not because it's red, but because it's made of translucent plastic. And the biggest problem with her is the positioning of the ball joint sockets in her elbows, because they can't bend forward that much. They're predominantly for inward bending, so she's always like homeless or begging for forgiveness or laughing evilly or whatever. Basically, it means that if you want her to bend her elbows forward, her hands are always going to have the palm up. There's no, either they should have designed the arms as such so that we could have, I forgot how to English. They should have designed it as such so that we could either have the socket towards the front, or they should have designed it so that there was like a swivel joint towards the top, right underneath her elbow joint, so we could still have her hands properly positioned. Because it's a shame about the elbows being a bit crap, because the rest of the articulation is good, and I like the display option that you can just rotate those spider legs on her arms forward as if they were daggers or armor-mounted blasters or whatever. And the rest of the articulation is as followed. Well, the head can move up and down on that hinge, and on the ball joint. Can also rotate around on the ball joint. Just being a little careful. Or at least I'm trying to be a little careful, because the socket is made of translucent red plastic. But it's fairly thick, so no immediate concern for breakage, I guess. Ball joints in the shoulder, so her arms can move forwards and backwards and outwards. We have the previously mentioned elbows. She has a bit of a backwards ab crunch. And if you remove the ab if you position the abdomen as such, you can actually access a waist swivel. Like, she has a little bit of waist rotation. Not a whole lot, but it's there if you need it. Just, again, be mindful of those mandibles, I guess. I mean, in spider mode, these black bars here, those are also actually like mandibles, so they could hinge, but they could also pop off because they're on a little clip-on bar. So, yeah. And the articulation in her legs is good too. Ball joints in the hips, so they can move forwards, backwards, and outwards. Though they are a little stiff. We have a thigh swivel right below the hip, and a very good single jointed knee, which might have been a little higher if they actually cut a bit more plastic out here, but whatever. But yeah, that's Blackarachnia. If I can actually just finish off this review quickly by putting her into a pretty good pose. Oh, come on. I guess that's pretty good. Oh, and if need be, you can also just move the fronts of her legs off of the spider legs and hinge her toes back down to help her balance accordingly. So there you have Blackarachnia. Overall, she does have her problems, but it's a pretty good figure still. And if you can find her for a reasonable price, I would definitely say go get her. Our overall score would be a pretty good 8 out of 10. So yeah, I guess I'm back to Transformers reviewing, because I have done it before, just usually on YouTube where it wasn't that well received, or on Facebook where accessibility is a bit limited because I posted in a private Facebook group where other people are in it, but just other people who are not in said group they can't see my reviews. So I guess this is a new way of making them public of sorts. But yeah, next up, it's going to be a figure that I got in the middle on the same day as I got her. Last Night Hot Rod. Though because he doesn't look anything like a hot rod, I'm going to call him Not Rod. See you then.